Welcome back to some new malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. The first story is called Punishment for Leaving. Around 6 months ago, my job started giving me Thursdays off, because Thursday is our slowest day of the week. So I started doing what little Thursday work I'd have on Wednesdays, and other than the lower paycheck, everything was good. To make a long story short, I asked my boss for a raise 2 months ago. He screamed at me, so I began looking for a new job, mostly to make more money, which he has always been aware of. In fact, his wife, they co-own the company, through a 3-week-long hissy fit because I was considering leaving. 2 weeks ago, I told him I had a job offer, but was taking a week to think about it. He never once either made me an offer to stay or even asked what it would take for me to stay, so I took the job offer and put in my 3-week notice. Yesterday, just before 5, he calls and tells me that he wants me to work Thursdays each of the next 3 weeks until I leave. So his punishment for me leaving for more hours and money is for him to give me more hours and money. So since I did all my Thursday work yesterday, I now have literally nothing to do. I am complying with his demand that I work by sitting in my office and reading a book I haven't had a chance to, and getting paid to do so. The next story is called Taxi Troubles. I used to drive a taxi cab. There are rigid and somewhat complex rules regarding driving time for occupational drivers. We logged hours in a notebook, for some reason nicknamed the storybook. Our driving time with a particular car was also logged electronically within that cab. The funny thing was that it was the cab, not the driver, who had a schedule. If you changed cab during your workday, you also switched to that car's schedule. Still, the driver had a limited amount of hours he was allowed to drive each day, week, or fortnight. Keeping track of this could be a bit of a challenge if you jumped between cabs. However, going over the limit was very bad, as it could bring enormous fines and suspensions. We would regularly get called out for an early morning or late night airport or train station transfer outside of our shifts. These would typically take around 45 minutes, unless we had to do more than one transfer. We were paid 2 hours wages for this, the difference being our call-out bonus. As this was mostly in time and a half hours, it was more like 3 hours pay for 3/4 hours of work. On weekends and holidays it was even more. Our dispatchers, affectionately nicknamed switch witches, were the ones who were supposed to keep tabs on how many cars were needed, and when which car could punch out and go home. One of the dispatchers would constantly give us extra fares or keep us around for school transfers in the morning, while sending some of the guys on ordinary shifts home early. When I noticed the pattern, I asked her why. What does it matter? You are paid for 2 hours. And more fares means you are making more money. No dear. It means my boss is making more money without having to give me compensation for it. You are taking away my call-out bonus. I suggested solving the issue by letting us drivers tack on 75 minutes to whatever time we were out, but it was shut down because change equals bad. Instead, the dispatcher was told to keep a better check on who was on shift and who was an extra, and who among the extras was an employee, and who was an owner-operator, and sent the employee extras home as soon as possible. Things didn't improve much after the misunderstanding was addressed, because she also was terrible at her job. Here is where I decided to engage in malicious compliance. On the call-outs, I stopped asking how much longer she needed me. I just remained logged on, accepting fares, letting the hours tick up. A few times she noticed and sent me home. Other times I kept on driving into my afternoon shift. Then came Friday night, the first one after payday. The biggest taxi night of the month. We were gonna make so much money. 8:30 in the evening, as things are slowly starting to get wild, I radio dispatch. Dispatch, I'm going to log off and bring in the cab. Why? Are you having trouble? No, I'm just out of hours. What? No. You are scheduled until 5 AM. There's a load of fares waiting. Sorry, someone else is going to have to take them. I logged out, garaged the cab and went home. I had a nice relaxing evening, and my boss lost a ton of money. Afterward, he wanted to know what happened. I explained that this was the result of the problem I had been addressing. Switch keeping me on the clock, using up my driving hours. And bonus, but I didn't mention that this time, resulting in me running out of hours. Nothing I can do, since it would mean breaking the law. The fines would be substantially bigger than the profit he had lost. The next time I had a call-out fare, I was told I could log out and go home before I even had dropped off the customer. The third story is called Never Order That. I frequent our local Chinese hole-in-the-wall restaurant a couple of blocks from my work. I have been coming here a couple of times a week for about a year now and know the staff fairly well. I enjoy my spicy food and I always ask for it to be extra spicy, but today I felt like something a bit more extreme. So I asked for my Singapore noodles extremely spicy and then added in, "Tell the chef to make this for me like he hated me and wanted to hurt me." Well, they took the "like he hated me" quite seriously. When my food came out, it was repulsive. The meat was burnt black and basically just crumbs. The vegetables were practically uncooked, and it was the saltiest thing I think I have ever eaten. Well, I got what I asked for and tried to eat it when my server came back and asked me how I liked it. Well, I think he might actually hate me. The server laughed and brought me my actual meal. Apparently, what I had gotten was just scraps that would normally be tossed, and the chef decided to have some fun with it. Got my food to go. My appetite was gone from the few bites I had, and left a good tip. Last time I asked for something like that. The next story is called Car Dealership. Way back in 2011, I graduated from college and got my first job. It was all great and all to begin with, and then I got a new manager. He pushed me into corporate sales against my wishes, but I guess I didn't have much of a choice, as it was my first job. Now, usually, in corporate sales you have to play the long game. Make contacts in companies, talk with procurement heads and maintain and nurture relationships. Basically, work yourself out and hope the procurement guys remember you when the company decides to buy cars for the C-suite. Now, my manager had an idiotic approach to corporate sales. He wanted us to go and meet 7 to 8 new company reps a day. These people are those who don't give appointments easily. And realistically, doing 7 to 8 meetings a week made more practical sense. But no sir. Our man wanted us to just pop up at corporate offices like door-to-door salesmen and request to meet corporate reps just like that. I told my boss this just didn't make sense when the cars you're trying to sell cost upwards of 50,000 and go up to 150,000. But the dude just would not relent. He would insist on showing him visiting cards of the reps we met at the end of each week and told us, "I don't want you sitting around in the office. Be out in the field doing meetings." I just started popping up at corporate offices, asking the receptionist for the visiting card of the person concerned, dropped off a brochure for the rep, and boom, left. My 8-hour day turned into a 4-hour day. Submitted those cards at the end of each week. This went on for months before upper management found out and my then manager left. The last story is called Contractor Contract. I work for an IT company as a contractor. The contractor part is important. Technically, I'm hourly, but everyone has always treated the job like salary. Some days I work 2 hours, some days I work 12. Just depends. I get 40 hours a week regardless. It was great until a recent change in middle management. My job is to replace old machines. So I go to different state agencies. I copy data off the old machines and put it on the new ones. The idea is that it works the same, but better. There are always small changes that people moan about. But hey, technology changes. Normally, when things are slow, I'm on standby and fill in where I'm needed. Happens 2 or 3 times a week. With the recent changes, the new manager asked me to come work at the warehouse, where we sent all the old devices. On the first day, I sorted laptop chargers. Genuine busy work and a complete waste of my time. The second day I went, I sat for 4 hours. I finally said, "I'm gonna take a break," and left. Never heard any feedback. They asked me to come back to the warehouse if I wanted hours. So I finally called them out. Nothing in my contract states that I'm required to come to do warehouse work. Ever. In fact, it states that I'm guaranteed 40 hours a week and also required to report to any relevant work. But it's clearly stated what my job is. So I refused. The new manager threw a fit. But at the end of the day, there was nothing he could do. I know what my contract states and I'm sticking to it. I told them if they wanted to rewrite the contract and pay me accordingly, I'd consider it. I still do my job. I do it well. My main boss respects me, but the new manager does not like me. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.